a legend of one man who persuaded his friends to watch every Godzilla movie ever made. This world is on the brink of destruction. We need you now, Godzillavangelists! Godzillavangelists, a Geek Stew Network podcast, produced and hosted by Ryan Sargent, featuring Sam Schlenker and Joanna Brodecki. Let's do a hypothetical, guys. I'm going to ask you to picture a scenario, and you just give me your honest, off-the-cuff answer. So let's say you're at your job. You've worked your way up to a position where you're involved in the hiring process, and you hear someone's coming in today, and they want you to do the initial interview. Now, this person comes in with a smile on their face, hands you their resume, and the first thing you see on it is Pteranodon fan. How does this affect their chances?
Negatively.
Negatively affects their chances.
Yeah. I would actually, if I were the interviewer, I would play nice the whole way. Be very cordial and be like, oh, well, we're really excited to have this great chat with you, fucking nerd. And then kick him out of the office.
Exactly. Same.
For me, I'd just be like, welcome aboard.
In case you weren't sure, my answer was a joke. I don't feel strongly about the idea of a pteranodon, and I also sort of does anyone feel strongly about them?
Well, this person does. I might question the decision to put it on their resume unless I was an archaeologist or tied to the sciences. But if they were interviewing for a sales role on a business team, I don't know. I'd wonder why they put it there.
I'd probably assume that it was a band.
Oh yeah, you're like, oh yeah, I've never heard Pteranodon. As you probably couldn't guess, actually, today we're talking about Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla II. There's no guest this time, so it's just a classic cozy trio show for you guys today.
Yeah, we got tired of them. Get out of here, you guests.
And really, what is this movie if not a family affair? So
right,
it all ties together.
Can I just point one thing out, which is that the title of this movie, Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla II, for one, there are 3 Mechagodzilla movies. This is the 3rd one so far. That's the first thing. And the second thing is this has nothing to do with the previous 2.
Right. There is a very tenuous way it makes sense, which is that the repaired Mechagodzilla that he fights at the end of this movie is technically called Mechagodzilla II. So that's how they have it makes internal sense, I guess. But yeah, it's only called that so that there's some way to distinguish it from the old one. And that's it.
I'm still not following, but I will trust that maybe some of the listeners got it. Sam, did you catch the thread?
No, that's nonsense. No. You're saying because he gets rebuilt, thus there is a second Mechagodzilla in this movie, and thus it's called Mechagodzilla 2? Think about every movie that has a 2 at the end of it, and apply that same logic to Balto 2, Dog of the Snow. No, it's not like because Balto is resurrected at the end, and thus we've justified Balto 2. There are 2 Baltos in this movie.
But I mean, it does make sense, because in Shrek 2, there are 2 Shreks. Shrek, and Fiona Shrek.
Ryan, you know that this is not true. You know this makes no sense. I'm not even going to fight you on this. That's not the reason they call it Shrek 2.
No.
Are you sure? Have you heard it from Jeffrey Katzenberg's mouth?
I'm not gonna engage on this.
Was Mechagodzilla the other episode when you were talking about they took a vote and saw who was the most popular? Was Mechagodzilla one of the most popular monsters?
He was, yes. This is continuing off the market research, at least partially.
Got to be researching that market.
But as we mentioned last time, Godzilla vs. Mothra was such a success that it helped boost the talks going on about doing an American Godzilla movie. So by the time this one got into pre-production, the American movie was well underway, and they thought they were going to release in 1994. So to avoid competition, Toho actually thought this would be the last one in the series. They're like, okay, we're bringing it to an end, and plus it was coming up on Godzilla's 40th anniversary, and early in pre-production, Ishiro Honda died as well. So they wanted to do a tribute to him. So they had these 3 glorious celebratory circumstances to sort of come together in this movie that we have in front of us today.
And write baby into a script.
Yes, bringing back Mechagodzilla, Rodan, and technically not Minya, but the concept of a baby Godzilla, all back.
Definitely kind of Minya, though.
Minya-esque.
Minyish.
Takao Okawara returned as director from the previous entry, but they had a brand new screenwriter in Wataru Mimura, who was a fan of Shinichi Sekizawa, which of course makes me a fan of his by proxy. Or maybe not a fan, but I gel with his approach. Any student of Sekizawa is a student of mine. That's not the right way to say that.
I was going to say. Ryan is putting himself on the equivalent level.
So, in any case, the American movie ended up being delayed to 96 and 98. So this wasn't the last one in the series, but they thought it was.
The last one of this round of the series.
The last one of the 90s.
Right.
But they snuck 2 more in after this.
So they were like, we're going to continue the series until America finally lays down that sick closing track.
Pretty much, yeah.
Nice.
And then it eventually came out on video in 1999 in the US. That was its first release here. And that's about all there is to say at this point about it. Mm-hmm. What did you guys think? Your somewhat non-spoilery brief thoughts on Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2.
I thought it was really long. How long was it?
It is a 1 hour and 47-minute movie.
Yeah, that's pretty long.
I mean, look, it's all subjective. I thought it was all right. But I say all right with an uptick at the end. Like, all right. It's all right.
All right.
I thought it was all right until I started thinking more that it was really long. So those, crossed paths at a certain point. Those 2 opinions.
I'm with you. I think the last one I remember thinking, boy, this is long. This would be Godzilla vs. Mothra, or whatever reversal of that title the movie is called. Is it Mothra vs. Godzilla?
No, Mothra vs. Godzilla is the 60s one. You had it right the first time. It's Godzilla vs. Mothra.
But yeah, I felt that way about that one, where I was like, man, this is long. I was kind of on board, and now I'm bored.
Now it's long, yeah.
Just bored.
But this one, I think maybe my headspace was already... there's a chance I may find this to be long, especially at the end. And I was charmed by it. I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was all right.
You sound like you're trying to stay in like the perfect little bubble of ambivalence, but you want to rise above it.
Like, am I crazy to think that so far this series, at least I should say, let's ignore the first 2, because I think the first 2 of this series, in 84 and then Biollante, they take some kind of swings, and they feel like they're... You could have an opinion about... You could have a strong opinion about them. I think these last 3, it's pretty hard to distinguish one being definitely better or worse than the other.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting. I don't entirely disagree. These are all very safe. These are like bunting Godzilla movies. They're like trying to get the broadest audience possible, and it's very evident.
A lot of fighting and limited kookiness. And so that's the graph that I grade these on.
I don't know. There was a pretty good amount of kookiness, I thought.
I thought that this one had the most kookiness of... Well, okay, no, I take it back. Godzilla versus... Oh, man. The one with the time travel. Is that Godzilla versus King Ghidorah?
Yeah.
Look at this. Look, I'm on a roll here.
Fucking professional on the podcast right now, ladies and gentlemen.
Two things. This is the friendliest to Godzilla that this series has felt. This run has felt. And it's the one that feels the most like it's thinking about kids. And maybe that's the baby Godzilla talking.
I totally felt Baby was kooky, for sure. But I wanted to really go for the kids. I wanted a kooky scientist in there. I wanted a nutty bad guy to really nail it for me.
I would say there's a kooky scientist, but we'll come around to him.
And there is, and he does ride around on a hover bike shaped like Rodan.
Okay, that was a great... Okay, yeah, that was a great bike. That was a favorite moment of mine.
This one was very hazy in my memory because it'd been a long time since I saw it, and I was very sleepy. And for some reason, I had like this gut feeling like, boy, this one stinks. Like, it's really slow and not great. And I was very surprised to find that my memory of it did not match up at all, and I liked it. Now, to what extent, we'll find out as the show goes on.
How much? You'll find out after this word from our sponsors.
All right, good old synopsis time. You guys ready?
Yeah, I'm in my brain. I'm firing all synopses.
Oh my god, that might be the worst one yet.
All right, here we go. Ba-da-da-da-da. Working with Japan, the UN creates an anti-Godzilla team called G-Force.
G-Force!
Which, actually, we'll stop there. You guys, this is a tangent, but as a young Godzilla fan, when the Disney movie G-Force came out in the mid-2000s, I was very angry because I was like, you can't take that name. That's the anti-Godzilla task force. You can't call a movie about a bunch of gerbils and guinea pigs G-Force. It's just confusing.
I had never heard of the film G-Force until right now. Sam, had you?
Oh, had I heard about G-Force? I was a fan of G-Force long before seeing this movie. The cast of gerbil voice actors includes Nicolas Cage and Sam Rockwell,
That Sam Rockwell.
Jon Favreau, Steve Buscemi, and Penelope Cruz.
Wow. Okay, this all checks out.
That is a loaded cast. Now I want to see all those people in a movie about the Godzilla G-Force. But back to the synopsis. G-Force develops both the flying Garuda and monstrous Mechagodzilla to combat Godzilla.
Dun, 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 dun.
Bum, 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 bum.
I thought you were going for the Godzilla theme.
No.
Dun, 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 dun.
No, that makes way more sense, Ryan.
G-Force scientist Kazuma Aoki is assigned to join the Mechagodzilla team by his crabby superior, General Hyodo. Meanwhile, an expedition to Adona Island discovers 2 giant eggs, one hatched and one still intact and alive. As they prepare to take the egg, they are attacked by mutated pteranodon Rodan, who believes
Much better.
who believes the egg belongs to his kin. Godzilla arrives and apparently kills Rodan in a battle before giving the expedition,
Or does he?
or does he? Giving the expedition time to escape with the egg. Biologist Azusa Gojo cares for the egg and discovers that the creature within is bonded to her and is afraid when she leaves.
Baby.
Azusa also forms a bond with Aoki, who has a great interest in the egg, because he's a fucking nerd.
Nerd.
It hatches to reveal a baby Godzilla. The scientists soon discover that baby has a second brain at the base of its tail.
This is like just...
Didn't they say in its hips?
No, it was in its butt.
Yeah, basically in the butt hips area. Baby also gives off an intense psychic resonance, which reaches Godzilla, who comes looking for it. He's nearly stopped by Mechagodzilla, but overcomes the machine and moves on to destroy Kyoto. As Baby cries out in fear, Godzilla stops the attack and returns to the ocean. G-Force uses this new knowledge to create a plan. They will use Baby as bait to draw out Godzilla, and then use an improved Mechagodzilla to destroy his second brain and disable him.
Mechagodzilla II.
That's right. Aoki, Asuka, Azusa, and Psychic Miki Sagusa are ordered to help with the plan, although all of them are at least somewhat reluctant. Unfortunately, the not dead Rodan is re-energized by Baby's resonance and flies to Japan, where it attacks the transport carrying Baby and tries to pry it out. Mechagodzilla is sent to fight Rodan and mortally wounds the beast, and Aoki goes to check on Azusa. Godzilla then arrives and fights Mechagodzilla, the battle ending when his second brain is crushed.
Ah, my butt.
The mournful Baby sings out, prompting Rodan to use the last of his energy to revive Godzilla. The supercharged King of the Monsters easily destroys Mechagodzilla, and the rest of the crew narrowly escapes. Lots of gasping from you in this one. It is pretty twist-filled.
Because they keep dying and coming back. They keep dying and then they keep coming back and the movie doesn't end.
Azusa tearfully says goodbye to baby Godzilla and urges it to join its parent. Together, Baby and Godzilla swim out to sea.
The same ending always.
But with a baby.
But with the baby.
Daddy, wait for me.
Wait for me, Daddy.
I am but human-sized and you are larger than human.
That was Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2. Shall we start with some characters?
Yes.
So, we have our dual protagonists. Not counting the monsters, because I feel like they're protagonists in this one, too.
I think, in a way, isn't New York City kind of a protagonist in this movie?
God damn.
That's what happens with no guests, is chaos ensues.
But alright, first we have Aoki. The nerdy, pteranodon-loving engineer / pilot.
/ sick DJ. Steve Aoki.
Yeah, I love the part when he was throwing cakes at Baby Godzilla.
Yep.
Yeah, I really liked him too, actually. I thought he was very charming. And even when he was at his goofiest, getting thrown around a dojo or spinning around a scientist's car and refusing to let him go until he promoted him, I was with him all the way.
I wouldn't add him to my list of favorites of the series, but I definitely thought he was a solid player, I guess.
Yeah, it kind of felt like he was the main character for the first 20 minutes of the movie, and then quickly our imprinted scientist and shockingly our recurring character Miki Segusa actually became a little more important to this movie than our fun man.
Yeah, Miki Segusa finally stepping it up a little bit.
I have some criticisms, but yes, she did. She actually had something to do this time.
Her torment over potentially paralyzing Godzilla or killing him is It feels there's a little something to it.
I think I'm just like, like Godzilla, like, what has he done, good in this movie to provoke all this emotion about him? Because as far as I can tell, like, he kind of really causes billions of dollars in damage.
That's gets to something that I want to get back to later, which is the moral compass of this movie. But I think, to speak basically, you're supposed to feel on his side because of baby, because he's got to take care of the baby.
But I more like him, like, don't leave baby with that guy. But what do I know?
What do you know about parenting dinosaurs?
What do I know about Godzilla?
To talk about his more endearing parent, Azusa. I also liked her a lot.
I did too.
Yeah, I really appreciated her commitment. And I liked the little love story between them. Not her and baby, between her and, yeah.
And Aoki. Yeah, that was very, very cute. I genuinely really liked the little interlude where they were flying around on a little pteranodon bike.
That was like one of my favorite parts. When the bike rose up from the ground was maybe my favorite part of the movie.
I can show you the world.
Exactly. I thought the same thing.
You know what the connection is? Is the screenwriters for Aladdin were working on the American Godzilla movie at this time.
Were they really?
You inadvertently, yeah.
Wait, they were?
Yeah.
Wow.
Their script basically got entirely thrown out, though, so there's like no connection to the 98 one, but they were working on it.
But it was the 90s, and they were writing away.
I'm sure the songs were pretty good, though.
Yeah,
Positive.
in the original American Godzilla.
Yeah, I think that for me, no one stood out in an insane way, but she did a good job at her showing her love of baby.
Yes. Very endearing. Now, someone who stood out in a bad way was our token white doctor, Dr. Asimov.
That guy was great.
Leo Meneghetti.
I was just going to look for his name. Thank you for saving me the trouble. Leo Meneghetti.
Oh, born in Italy. That's fun.
It's just a terrible, terrible actor. But, and yet they put his Colonel Sanders looking ass in several key scenes.
Oh my god. His IMDb has 5 credits. But I guess he was in Mobile Sheriff Jaban before this.
Oh, I love that movie.
That TV show, he was in 52 episodes of it.
Oh, he was?
Wow.
The TV show? I mean, that TV show I love.
I love that TV show.
My favorite kind of sheriffs are mobile sheriffs.
Exactly. Yeah, he felt like he just didn't need to be there.
No, my only note about him was random American guy.
Right. My favorite part was when some guy was like sketching furiously on something. He's like, here's how we do it. We make it into a backpack or something. I don't know. I wasn't fully following. He just goes, yes, that is the answer. And then just like that, millions, billions of dollars again to making this robot backpack. I didn't mind Rodan in this one.
No, yeah. He's Rodan is very sympathetic. All he wants to do is protect baby.
Yeah, sometimes when he flaps those wings, he doesn't seem as powerful as people are saying he is.
No, I was thinking that too. And then the opening scene, he was flying over the tents and they weren't even ripped out of the ground. I was like, man, that makes Rodan look like a wimp. He couldn't get some cables and pull on the tents.
Mechagodzilla looked cool, all held up in the headquarters. Second he's flying through there on those strings, loses all semblance of cool.
Mecha was a little too rounded for me. I like chiseled angle Mecha of the first 2 movies before Mechagodzilla II.
Yeah. You're not a fan of dad bod Mechagodzilla.
If they had really gone for it, if they had really given him a real dad bod, perhaps. But no, it was just you kind of had like a sort of like a he's a little bulbous or something. He used to be so angular.
Yeah. But I did love the little outfits they wore while they were inside of him. I thought those were really good team outfits.
Did people on the two ships wear the same outfit? Or people on Mecha and on the ship?
Garuda? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. That's a mistake. That's why I was confused. Because the interiors look the same. No, I mean, this is like nitpicking, but like the interiors look the same and they're in the same outfits. Like you could have so much fun. Color code these guys. Yeah.
That's true. A lot of people agree with you. This is the least popular of the Mechagodzilla designs. But I love how committed they are to giving him every single power the old one has. He has the laser eyes, the rainbow beam, and the tummy shot.
The tummy shot is the best one.
Which they call the plasma grenade.
And his diamond exterior when he's melting, like that was a pretty... watching him melt was kind of satisfying. I felt bad for him, but I liked the look of it.
Also, speaking of Rodan, I like the bit of the fight when Godzilla just grabs him by the neck and starts throttling him like Bart Simpson.
100%. I liked that first fight. I thought it was good. I thought it would satisfy a lot of the people to have a big fight like that so early on. Really let them know what kind of movie we're watching.
Whet their appetites.
Exactly.
Yeah. I was just going to say, the fights are pretty good. I do agree that the second Mechagodzilla fight goes on a little long. But the big finale is I got invested in for sure.
Yeah.
Is it just me, or did this one feel a little, and I don't mean this necessarily as a criticism, but did this one feel a little jankier than the last one?
You mean special effects wise?
Well, so it's special effects wise, but it's also like this is the one that felt. Oh man, I could go into a long spiel on this, so hold tight. Okay, so the last one, and I feel like the last one, I feel like Biollante to an extent, and then certainly Godzilla 1984 are doing. They're movies about, they're a little back to basics, and they're a little bit like, no, this is a movie about people. This is what would happen if Godzilla shows up. This is what this would feel like. Like Godzilla is the problem. Look at this real life Godzilla marching on a city. And then I feel like this one is the first of this series, although I think Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah was this way a little bit, where it's like, this is a world with Godzilla. We take that for granted. So like, no longer do we have monster fights that are like, this is a Godzilla that we're looking up at from ground level, stomping on some buildings. This one's like, we're just going to have some tumble fights between these two monsters in an area with nothing around to like indicate scale. And so on the one hand, it feels a little jankier to me in that way. It's a little, there's less of an attempt to make it feel like these are giant beings.
Monsters.
But on the other hand, it feels more like the old ones.
Yeah, I think that is very conscious. Well, I think like the fight that takes place in a field in the middle of nowhere, I think that's just a budget thing. But the rest of it, like shooting them more on eye level, I think it's very intentional to make the monsters feel more like personalities, which they do to me compared to some of the previous movies in this series. Like it's more about them and what they want. So yeah, I can definitely see where you're coming from on that one.
I was just gonna say one of my favorite shots in the movie was when he's arriving at Kyoto. I thought that was like very satisfying, having that long faraway shot with the helicopter flying in or plane. I don't know what it is. Something was flying in, and there were all those reporters standing on that roof in the foreground of the shot. I was like, this would be enjoyable to watch at a movie theater.
There are some good shots, which, makes me think even more that it's not so much jank as, like, intentional. Now, does it feel weird sometimes?
Right.
For sure.
Right.
To complete our monster discussion, let's talk about Baby Godzilla.
Baby. Just the fact that they just named him Baby. And just spent the whole movie going, Baby! I felt like I was watching some 1950s era film that John Travolta would be in whenever that happened. Like, I just envisioned him being like, baby, come on. I don't know what made up movie I was thinking of, but...
Well, what's funny is, you know how all these 90s ones have their customary movie ripoff in it.
Of course.
There's a little bit of Jurassic Park, but the more direct one for this one was a Japanese movie called, I think, Baby Secrets of the Lost Dinosaur, which came out last year and did big business, and everybody was talking about how cute the baby dinosaur was and how all the women went to see it because of that. So again, chasing that female demographic.
And boy, did it work, because when they left Baby alone, I was so sad for Baby.
No one leaves Baby in a corner.
No one leaves Baby in a corner. They do, however, leave Baby in a metal box. Yeah, no, they leave him in the Yeah, Baby was adorable. Something about its hunched shoulders was very sad and sweet. And the red eyes were like spooky, like possessed, you know?
Yeah. Baby is much more well-liked than Minya as a concept on a baby Godzilla. I obviously prefer Minya, but I think Baby's cute. I like the little side eye he keeps giving people.
Mm-hmm.
Like sometimes his eyebrow will go up a little bit. Mm-hmm. Very funny.
Baby is very cute, and both of the Minya movies, or however many there were, 3, would be vastly improved if Minya looked like this.
You can't compete with the ugly cute. The one thing that was confusing to me is how when they initially introduced Baby, they're like, oh, it's not the Godzilla species. It's like a cousin.
Yeah, wait, what? Why did they do that? Why?
Because then they go on to like draw conclusions about Godzilla from Baby, which would make you think, oh, they must be the same species.
If they both have that butt brain, then...
Yeah, they do. Got that butt brain.
And, I mean, non-spoiler, spoiler alert, Baby goes on to look very much like Godzilla, so why even bother with this, like, they're not exactly the same thing?
Yeah.
I think it's got to be one of those, someone's lying about the paternity situation. Godzilla's like, no, not my kid. And they're like, dude, he looks exactly like you. And he's like, no.
Now I'm seeing this movie with the position of Rodan being the mom, actually, and trying to come after for Godzilla for child support. And that's a whole other glorious way to see this movie.
Yeah, wait, was Rodan the mom? What was Rodan's connection to Baby?
As theorized by the scientists, the baby egg was like, it was like a cuckoo bird. Like a Godzilla like laid the egg in a Rodan nest, which made Rodan think Baby was his brother or something like that.
Okay. Oh yeah, I remember that some half. I don't know. I was like, what? Huh? What?
Yeah, it was pretty strange. But now I'm trying to come up with the perfect Billie Jean parody. Baby G is not my child. I'll cut it there.
Please don't.
Don't cut it.
There were these creepy little psychic girls who come to visit Baby.
I loved them. Baby and those psychic girls singing that weird song with the adult voices coming out of their mouth. That was a great moment.
Yeah, I don't quite understand it, but it was creepy.
It was creepy. It freaked me out in a good way, how they sounded like adult women. I think it was to introduce that Baby has this, like, psychic song it sends out into the world or something like that.
So this is something I wrote down, but this movie has so many psychic connections.
Yeah.
Like, everybody is a psychic. Or is psychically connected to each other.
But yeah, that haunting psychic chorus is good, and it reminds me how much I like the score, which is
the score was
Akira Fubuke one of his best of this run. I feel like it's very classic. Without he usually repeats himself a lot in the '90s ones, but I feel like there's a lot of original material in here. So I'm a fan.
Yeah, it was very present throughout a lot of the movie, and I think it really worked. Yeah, that was like one of my favorite parts about it was his soundtrack.
I also really like how Baby is used in the screenwriting. Like it's not very innovative to use like an innocent child character to give these situations stakes, but it works because sometimes they do feel like they're lacking stakes, the situations in these movies, but they're always able to work in like some reason for us to care other than just general we want one monster to win over the other by putting Baby in danger or Baby in Azusa or versions of that. It's like it's a very easy thing, but I think it makes the movie work better than some of the last few.
Yeah, I think this one feels like it feels less perfunctory than Godzilla versus Mothra, which kind of did feel like some pretty impressive monster fights, but it was like, it's some monster fights. Look at them. And this one's got yeah, I felt myself more drawn to it, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
There's also like more like cycles to the fight, so they're not kind of samey. Like you have are they gonna destroy Godzilla's second brain? Is Miki gonna go through with it? And then like how are they gonna bring him back to life? Like all these different little mini arcs.
Yeah, and I think with Mechagodzilla, it's always fun to see like the little tricks and gizmos and gadgets that they put on him, and then see them like either be effective or not. Whereas if you just have another monster, then it's kind of like, yeah. I mean, again, I know that we love them, but I don't know their capabilities as well, and it's slightly less satisfying.
It does the thing that we've talked about before, where it's nice. Again, this should come standard, but it doesn't always. That the characters should actually be organically involved in whatever the fight is.
Right.
So that's
right.
Here we are again, and it's like, oh man, it's so interesting that we have our main characters on the ship that's fighting Godzilla. Like, interesting how that is so much more engaging than if they're just like watching and commentating lightly. Oh, a big punch.
Yeah. I mean, even the end of Mothra versus Godzilla, as long as it is, at least they gave the characters something to do because they weren't involved in the fight.
Right.
And they go rescue the kids on the island.
Right.
So you're right. They should always get that right. It's so easy, but they don't always. So when they do, it feels good. And this one felt especially good about it. Like, everyone was involved, whether it be like Azusa with Baby, or Aoki and some of the other people in the Mechagodzilla. All those things were streaming together.
Oh, I had one question though with Miki Segusa being on the ship, and this is on I guess she's in Mecha.
Yeah,
and this isn't to say she shouldn't be on Mecha, because that's right. That's the right choice. We just established this, but why does she need to be on Mecha? And like I think their justification, if I understood it correctly, is because she's a psychic, she can find the butt.
Yeah.
But like, does she need to be? I mean, she's using like a thing. I feel like she's using some kind of device. I just don't buy that like she needs to be a psychic for that.
Yeah, that was a weird choice to give her like those X-ray goggles. They should have had her like fingers to her temples, like seeing the brain in her mind.
Yeah, I thought it was that.
Because then they would have been motivated.
I thought it was that the brain energy is radiating off to her brain, so she knows where the brain is.
Oh my God! Hold on. Yes. So here's my question. Oh my God! I think I may have just unraveled something. Do you think that the reason they made it a butt brain as opposed to like another heart or like an energy source, so like oh, it has, it's Godzilla, so it has this organ that humans don't have that powers it up, which would be much less weird. Do you think the reason they made it literally a brain is because they have a psychic character and they're like, well, if it's a brain, the psychic can find it?
That's smart. However, this is based on a scientific theory that was long out of date by the 90s, but they decided to use it anyway because dinosaurs, a lot of them have this big empty space between their hips.
What?
And scientists didn't understand what it was for and how dinosaurs could be so big but have such small brains. So their theory was they had a second brain to help control their bodies.
Ryan, this is the craziest fact I've learned in all of our time doing these podcasts. Sorry, what? They have big empty space. I'm also like, how do they stand with all that empty space? And their theory was they had a second brain. This is wild.
Do you think that the same theory holds true for Pixar moms?
Yeah, Mrs. Incredible has a second brain to control those hips. Makes sense.
Makes sense. Checks out. Wow, see, Sam, I just wouldn't give them that much credit, you know, to connect the story points like that. I think it was like a great coincidence.
Yeah, I just, it does kind of feel like there are a lot of leaps where you go, okay, I wonder, let's like try to backtrack and figure out how we made all these leaps. So to know that that's based on anything is wild.
Wild.
Yeah, but like I said, that was like basically debunked by the 50s, so that maybe it was motivated by the psychic thing. They're like, we'll just pull on this old fact.
Did you find out about the butt brain theory after watching this movie, or separately on your own about dinosaurs?
BBT. Do you subscribe to BBT?
Yeah, how did that come to be?
I think I read it in like a kid's dinosaur book before this.
All right, I was going to say, I'm seeing my nephews in a few weeks. I'm telling them all about this. I can't wait.
That's going to be the coolest thing they've ever heard.
Wow, yeah.
I'm not convinced that some people don't have butt brains. just saying.
What was your favorite gadget on Mechagodzilla?
This ties into something else I wanted to talk about, actually, so it's perfect. My favorite was
You're welcome.
the shock cables coming out of his wrist, because I liked that they tied his origin in with Mecha King Ghidorah, and that was like a clever way to tie it back, because King Ghidorah had those. And I was like, oh, that's cool that they were able to make an advanced robot not just because, but because they had the future technology to draw on. So I was like, yeah, nice callback with the wrist cables.
Yeah, they were also satisfying when that energy was coming back at him. What did his stomach do? Because I liked it, but what did it do?
They called it a plasma grenade launcher.
Perfect. Yeah, that sounds right. That's great. Love it.
Sometimes all of our stomachs become plasma grenade launchers.
And again, his diamond, whatever skin, whatever that guy said when they were first introducing him about how his skin was, his exterior was made of diamonds or something like that. I was there for how excited that person was about it. But he did melt. So again, diamonds are not forever, whatever. But
what would that be in James Bond, the sequel? Diamonds are not forever. So
what would happen in that?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a good question. If it's modern, I mean, it's a return to sticking James Bond in Las Vegas. But it's current Vegas, so there's it's kind of a lot more like corporate.
Maybe we could see his downtime for once. Like the boring parts where their relationship with the Bond girl falls apart and he leaves her. And he's
good.
Getting drunk, and then he has to get back in shape. He's like, it's time to go on another mission.
Well, we have seen that, unfortunately. They have done the James Bond needs to get back in shape. I like the idea of just Bond, just on a bender and being self-destructive, but not in a cool way where it's he's self-destructive, but he's also gonna win the fight. Him like, don't tell me what to do, and you think you're so tough. And drinking, oh man, girls being skeeved out by him and being like, hit me, and then they 18, you lose, and then the girl's just be like, yeah, you're not even very good at this, and he's like, no, baby, and then
It writes itself.
That's the movie right there.
Speaking of baby.
Not actually speaking of baby this time. I love how during Rodan's flight over Tokyo, we get a really good look at Tokyo Disneyland, which I was thinking, like, there is no way this was authorized. Like, during the Michael Eisner era, there's no way that Disney said, yeah, you can use that. So I just like, how did they steal that shot? How are they allowed to put it in the movie? But we get a nice view of Rodan going over Cinderella Castle and Space Mountain. I love it.
Yeah.
I had totally forgotten about that. And then later, we get a very horrific Rodan death. Probably one of the most horrifying monster deaths of the entire Godzilla series. With his chest ruptured and all that horrible green-yellow blood bubbling up. This was the goriest one yet, maybe, because they were also puncturing Godzilla's skin all the time and tearing apart his nerves.
And so fascinating after the decision to have those sparkly blanket wings. Felt kind of bad for the guy.
Rodan really gets shafted super bad in this movie.
I don't get why we end the movie liking Godzilla more than Rodan, honestly.
This is my favorite Rodan, though.
Yeah, for sure.
It is.
Maybe it's because he was murdered so horrifically in front of our eyes. That was like the glitter sparkle, like him being murdered and then kind of like lovingly wrapping around Godzilla, and then all the glitter. That was like kind of tender, right?
It was totally tender. It felt very Mothra to have all those sparkles involved. It
did. I'm not sure what the glitter motivation was this time.
Yeah.
Because it's like nuclear energy. I don't recall there being a lot of just like glitter on the ground at Chernobyl and 3 Mile.
No, someone in the graphics department was just having a good time, I guess. I mean, it looked, but it also tonally, it was like, what is going on here?
Yeah, it feels. I don't think that you would do it. They would do it then, or I'm surprised they did it then. I don't think they would do it now. I know that they're all for them focus groups, but like I could just see them being like, boys are gonna make fun of this.
I think it's supposed to be like a tender moment. Like Rodan would give anything to keep baby safe, even give his life to his enemy.
But Rodan and Godzilla aren't friends. I don't know. I'm not buying it.
Right, but that's the thing. That's exactly why it's so poignant, at least in theory, is Rodan hates Godzilla so much, but he's still willing to give his life to save Godzilla's life, to protect the baby. Maybe
because I would have picked Rodan as the baby protector. I can't get behind it.
This is a big character arc change for Hugh, Joanna. We've gone from hating Rodan to being so hurt at his hurt that you don't want Godzilla to live.
I lost being a Godzilla fan a while ago. Once the second that Godzilla continues to be like a bad guy, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, this is, as I've said, this is not my favorite Godzilla era. I prefer when he's got a little more charisma to him.
Yeah, how'd you feel about this Godzilla? Like, look-wise and everything.
Yeah, I talked about it a little in the Biolante episode.
Yeah.
It's basically fine. I appreciate their take on a more realistic Godzilla while still, like, basically keeping all the right features in there. But I like a more lizardy, alligatory looking Godzilla, whereas this one's a little more mammalian. Very, very ferocious looking with these very dead, angry eyes. So I prefer a different take. I'll leave it there.
Yeah.
He has too much of a Momoa brow for me, I think.
He does have a Momoa brow now that you mention it. I know the practical reasons why Baby Godzilla is so tiny, but it just looks so strange.
It looks strange when they show him next to Godzilla's foot. Like, the scale still sometimes Doesn't work.
Yeah.
He looks like a booger that would fall out of Godzilla's nose, not the baby.
Right.
I did the math even. If we generously call a baby 8 feet tall, which he's not, he's still 41 times smaller than Godzilla, versus a human baby being like 6 times smaller than a human.
Yeah. Whoa.
Yeah, let me do the math here. Actually, 41. Hold on, give me 1 second. Yeah, if I had a baby that was the same ratio smaller than me as Godzilla and baby, my baby would be under 2 inches tall.
Yep, sounds about right. To bring it back to the big point I wanted to make.
Yeah.
I thought one of the most interesting things about the ending was how Godzilla destroys Mechagodzilla so mercilessly.
Yeah.
And the moment of resurrection is this big, glorious, triumphant moment. In both the visuals and the music, you're clearly supposed to feel like, yeah, he's alive. And then immediately switch to like abject horror as he apparently like kills all these people. Now he doesn't. They keep them alive somehow, even though like they would 1000% be dead in that explosion. And it made me think like, wow, they really swung for a morally gray, like moral compass for this movie. And before you make fun of me, obviously they didn't do that completely successfully, but they did really try. Like there's all this balance back and forth. Like there's a moment where Azusa says, "I'm sorry I couldn't protect you," to baby, when clearly the monsters don't want to hurt the baby. So she's like defining her fellow humans as like the threat and the enemy of the movie. It's really strange and interesting, actually.
I almost thought it was I didn't want anyone to die, but I almost thought it was like, I thought they could have gone there maybe, that some of those people in there did die and it would have had more of an impact. Because yeah, he was really going at it. And again, I wasn't on the side of like, hurrah, he's alive. I was like, he sucks, kind of. And then when he was destroying them, I was like, wow, harsh. I did think it was hilarious that the other people were like, they all died, and then they were like, we're not dead. Like took off their helmets and ran outside.
Yeah. It really felt like a last minute like script change. Like, you can't kill them. It's going to be too horrific.
Right. Like, imagine if they had killed off Miki, like it would have been sad and pretty impactful. But then you kind of couldn't really have Godzilla walking away into the sunset with baby, so I guess you got to balance that.
Or you could have him like lift like baby over the flaming wreckage, and then they walk, like it could almost be double impactful, because it's like, oh, this is a sweet father-son moment, but also they're stepping over the bodies of all the people we knew.
Right. Yeah, I would have really liked that, actually, if they just really pushed hard and like made you feel like a little uncomfortable. Obviously, the movie's like not set up to support something that heavy, but I like that they almost went for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely, that would have been, I mean, if it's already a little funky whiplashy wise, like tonally, that would be like insane. Like the most generally child-friendly movie of this series, and then just like just full Chernobyl at the end is a little like, it's kind of rough.
Just brutal destruction.
It would have been like a classic Bong Joon-ho kind of movie. It was like a real swing.
Yeah.
There's some other sub-themes that were kind of interesting too, like life versus anti-life. Like you had not only a metal Godzilla, but a metal bird versus Godzilla and Rodan. And the idea, this has come up before, but the idea that no matter how you try to fight Godzilla, you always end up making him stronger. Like when they tried to take him out of the timeline, he ended up bigger. When they tried to destroy his second brain, Rodan comes and makes him more radioactive than ever. It's not like a complete thought, any of this stuff, but it's kind of cool. They're cool ideas, so I like that stuff.
Yeah, it would, that theme of no matter what you try to do, he gets stronger as like a nuclear metaphor is really cool. It doesn't fully connect when there are other creatures like life force sacrificing themselves to resurrect him. Then it's like, well, now that metaphor is a little lost.
It's definitely muddled.
Definitely.
It's a big, muddly, cuddly lump of a movie.
That's the review that they had on the DVD. A big muddly, buddly clump of a movie.
I like your idea. That wasn't even words. It was just nonsense.
And that made me rent it at Video Villa.
As Godzillavangelists, it is our holy duty to assign each movie its proper place in Godzilla heaven, hell, or purgatory. Up to the plate is Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla Adieu. And kick us off, Joanna.
Yeah, I am a solid purgatory for this one. Again, some fun elements. Baby was fun. The kooky bike was fun. But I think in general for me, it was just a little long and didn't have enough. Like, I just wasn't fully behind Godzilla taking. I don't know. It's something about it just didn't quite connect for me. It had enough fun elements that I wouldn't throw it in hell, but I don't know that this is one that I would like watch again. I think it's pretty solid purgatory.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Sam, what did you think?
Well, as per usual, I'm a little more positive on it.
He's a positive purgatory.
This is the new trend for the 80s and 90s series. Joanna and Sam have flipped places.
I found it to be more emotionally engaging than the last two. I do think maybe visually and technically it's maybe the weakest of this run, I say. But then again, I liked some of the shots. I liked the shot that we didn't mention of Mecha's, the kind of POV shot from Mecha where his arms kind of like raise up into the foreground. I thought that was fun. So there's a lot that's nice about it. I'm tempted to say purgatory, like upper purgatory, but only because I feel like we'll be able to revisit the purgatories later. And so I just don't feel so strongly that I want to say heaven, but I'm fully open to it being a heaven in the future. So
Wow, strong praise.
well, I mean, but I'm not going to put it in heaven. But yeah, that was pretty good. I had a pretty good time.
Well, I'm going to come in even stronger. I said it was a pleasant surprise. It was a really pleasant surprise. I was like, oh, this is almost like discovering a new movie. It was like that wonderful sense of discovery I had when we watched the 84 movie. And I really liked the thematic stuff that they were going for, and I thought it was somewhat successful, which is about all you can ask, at least with these later series movies. I thought most of the battles were fun and had some stakes to them. Music's great. I think it is visually a little bit weaker. So, like, when I think about it objectively, though, I don't know if it's as good as 84, which I put in purgatory. But somehow I just feel more positive about it. Like, I don't know. It was a fun watch. And so I will... knowing I may change my mind later, I'm going to stick it in low heaven.
Wow.
Yeah.
We got a heaven on the board.
Man, this is our first heaven in a while after straight purgatory votes.
I think my problem is I now go into these looking for like a big surprise. And I don't think that's ever going to happen at this point. There's going to be some crazy different format. There's not going to be an island involved. No UN involved. No, throw in 3 other monsters.
These movies feel a little bit like they're resting on their laurels to me. I'm trying to think of how to put this, but it's a little bit the safeness, but it's also, it's like these all feel like the way that, for me as a Bond fan, Spy Who Loved Me feels, where it's like they're good, but you're also kind of like, this all feels kind of like they're referencing a previous thing. They're more self-conscious. They haven't just like totally cut loose in a bit. I feel like Biollante had its moments of cutting loose, and that's kind of the last time that's happened.
Yeah, and like Godzilla obviously like is a main character, but I don't know, the kind of like, oh, he's gonna come to take care of like, again, I just don't trust it. Like, his actions don't lead me to be like, yeah, like this guy loves the kid. Like, I don't know.
You sound so much like me.
Right. and kind of why King Kong always appeals to me, right? Like, the sentimentality behind his stories is always a bit more present and central than kind of throwing some external elements on it. And he's so cute. Except for that first one, terrifying. I hate that movie. I still have nightmares about it. But that one aside.
Yeah, that's definitely the downside of having a more realistic Godzilla is for all you can say about how he looks in Son of Godzilla, you can see him emoting.
Right.
You can see him surprised and frustrated with Minya and like sympathetic towards Minya. So it's not always better to be more realistic, as I'm fond of saying in this show.
Not true. It's always better. Fuck you. It needs to be darker and cool. The new Batman is the best Batman because it's the darkest.
Hell yeah.
I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it yet.
It's so funny how people are like saying the Nolan trilogy is obsolete because of the new one. And by the way, I don't really care to defend the position that it's not, but it's just so funny that people are like, nah, this is the darkerer and betterer.
Right, why can't they both be good?
You literally can't see anything the whole movie.
I hate to go off a big laugh to something sad, but we gotta mention it. It was announced today that a few days ago Akira Takarada died.
Oh.
Our handsome boy.
Yeah.
Has been around since the original Godzilla. In so many of these movies, he was always a big supporter of Godzilla, going to so many conventions, even up to just a couple months ago. He had a very generous spirit for being part of this community, and we've always loved him in these movies. So I just wanted to take a minute to call him out and say, bless you, Mr. Takarada. We'll miss you.
And thanks for participating in all of these along the way. Wow, yeah.
If there is a Godzilla heaven, he is certainly in it.
He takes the top slot in Godzilla heaven. So I do have some more social media posts. This one had a picture of the Dorats. We're not sure if we think the Dorats are cute, creepy, stupid, silly, or all of the above, but we love them anyway. What do you think of these genetic monsters? And then Josh Hernandez at I Am Director Josh said, I always thought they felt so out of place with the rest of the movie. Everything's so serious and adult, except for these cutesy little motherfuckers.
They were so precious, though.
They were precious.
And they were of the age, you know? That shit, Gremlins, the whole nose.
Yeah, I think, to me, Furbies and Gremlins have a dark quality to them. I see them in...
Oh my god, terrifying.
I don't entirely agree, because they're, like, as we've discussed, there's some pretty goofy time travel stuff in that movie, but I see his point. They do feel really out of place. And if you want to have your message read on the show, participate on our social media, or better yet, write a review for Apple Podcasts, send us an email, any of those things.
And it better be a nice one.
But if you're too shy or you don't have much to say, you can still support us just by following our social media, our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can subscribe to us on YouTube, Spotify, anywhere you get your podcasts. But thank you so much for listening and being with us. And next time, we are taking on a very infamous movie. This is not a surprise. I've talked about how much I dislike it. Godzilla versus Spacegodzilla.
Yes, I hope I love it. Yes, I'm ready. This one sounds fun. Let's go.
I'm ready to love it.
3, 2, 1, blast off to heaven.
No, again, my memory could be wrong, as we've learned a few times over the past few months. But my memory is that this is not fun bad. This is the most boring Godzilla movie in the entire series.
No, is it long? Are there a lot of fights?
It's 4.5 hours long.
Oh, it's like the Titanic. Oh,
It's the Showa of the Godzilla series. So we'll tackle that next time. Hopefully we'll have a fun guest on for you. But tune in then, and in the meantime, keep spreading the word of Godzilla.
bye. Thanks for tuning in.
Godzillavangelists is brought to you by me, Ryan Sargent, and my friends, Joanna Brodecki and Sam Schlenker. All our incredible music is composed by Robert Mai, and our wonderful artwork is drawn by Cassidy Stone. This episode was edited by Dylan Jones. Special thanks to our families, friends, and the wonderful artists who made the movies we talked about today. Godzillavangelists is a satirical, critical work, not affiliated or endorsed by Toho, Legendary Pictures, or anyone behind the Godzilla series. Visit our website at godzillavangelists.com. We're also on Twitter at GodzillaCast and Instagram at GodzillaVangelists. If you prefer to listen to us online, we have a YouTube channel. Thank you so much for listening, and we hope you join us next episode. In the meantime, keep spreading the word of Godzilla.